Welcome. So, in today's broadcast, guys, we're going to talk about music. We're going to talk about what happened, right? It seems as though the music that we grew up listening to has devolved instead of evolved, right? We have so many people here that they hear the music is there, but it just doesn't have that same effect that a lot of us grew up listening to. So on this broadcast, guys, I really just want to get into the meat of and potatoes of what happened to the music. We're also going to touch on a few different topics here. We're going to talk about the death of the genre wall. This is part two of a series that we started yesterday, where we were talking about generational differences, politics, and how all of this affects what's going on musically. So, without further ado, we're going to get into the topic.
Modern producers essentially are trying to create the illusion of a performance when it's nothing like a performance. If you put on a record from Pink Floyd, the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, Elton, Bowie, those records scream humanity and scream artistic integrity. Record producers and engineers have become obsessed with perfection. It's like, when was rock and roll ever about perfection? It never has been. That's not why that music is so great. Human beings are not perfect, and there's something strangely unsettling about music that's confined to a grid. Music that's altered and tweaked and fine-tuned to perfection. When you think about it, it's actually really bizarre. It seems to me that modern producers and artists are sold on the idea of stripping all the humanity out of their music.
And people be like, man, what happened to R&B music? What happened to R&B music? I'm gonna tell you what happened to R&B music.
Before he gets into that, what we have to realize is that it's a lot of it's a lot of it's a lot of people who, you know, profit off of the music changing, right? It's a lot of creators out there that want to make great music, but the music has changed. And I'm not the only person that has noticed that, right? That the music has changed. So let's get to the streets and see what the people are saying.
Y'all, what happened to the male R&B artists? Where are the groups at? I ain't never met a group of people that want to be thugs so bad in my life. Everybody want to be gang and shoot it up. Ain't no singers on the radio no more. What happened to the time we had Jodeci, Drew Hill, Boys to Men, Jagged Edge? I mean, it was hit after hit after hit. The women are the only ones really keeping R&B alive. Shout out to all the true male artists that's still around, the Tanks, the Chris Browns, like y'all still doing y'all thing. But where are the new guys at? And when I say R&B, don't start naming people that don't know how to sing. If you out there, that ain't R&B. I miss good music on the radio, the love ballads. Come on now, it's me and we had something to offer in that space. Where are the true R&B artists at? Come on, y'all can sing now. Ride Wave, drop an R&B album, because we know that's what you really want to do. Now, I don't know if we got to go to a church to find a new artist or what, but can we please get some new R&B out here in 2025?
Bruh, the music industry is in fucking shambles. I just saw a video, and I'm not gonna name the artist in this video, but all I can say is that it's the same shit that we've heard from them for the past 5 years, and ain't no growth. Okay, there might be growth physically, but ain't no growth. Talking and rapping about the same shit. There's no skill. There's no art. Where the fuck is the art in music? Everybody's rapping about the same shit. And guess what? These music execs, they want y'all to put that shit out because guess who's making the money? Not y'all. Y'all have to keep talking about the same shit to keep making the money at this point. Like there's no relationship in music no more. Everybody's talking about being a side bitch or a side nigga or fucking somebody else's girl, but drugs, all this shit. Like, yeah, we talked about that shit in the 90s, but there's no story, there's no plot.
Okay, I think that's enough. I really don't like when they curse in the videos because I stream on different sites and I don't want my video to get flagged or stuff like that. But let's get into the topic, right? Right. Let's talk about what's going on. What we have is possibly the death of music. And I think that music is dying for multiple reasons. But one of the core reasons is that it's been separated from the people who make it. And I think when we try to commodify everything and we try to use capitalism as a source and a bridge mark for everything, we're going to step away from the art. And that's clear, right? We can see like in these videos people are asking what happened to R&B, but it's not just R&B. All of the rock fans are asking what happened to rock. All of the hip hop fans are asking what happened to hip hop. All of the soul and R&B fans are asking what happened to their genres. And you would think with more technology that things would get better. But we're seeing with more technology, things are seemingly getting worse. So with music, and I have my guitar on side of me right here, I am a musician. And I first fell in love with soul music and hip hop and country music. I grew up right next to, back in the day I lived on this address that's called 910 Southwest Main Street. And it was right next to a blues slash country club, and it was a mix of both. And from my window I could hear blues and I heard music playing as a kid. And my aunt, she used to own a nightclub, so music was always a part of something that I grew up listening to. And growing up we heard many different genres. I'm from Louisiana, but I've traveled all over the United States. And growing up, guys, um in the United States, I've been all over the United States. Um Almost every state except north of New York. I haven't been north of New York yet, but I've been all over the country. And one of the things that I'm noticing is that things are changing because the music isn't what it used to be. And in this video, I really want to discuss and ask a good question. Is music dying? Are we in the era where possibly music is dying? And the reason why I say that is what one of the people in the videos that I previously played stated is so true. When you turn on the radio, you don't hear good music. Now, that's not to say that the radio is the only source for good music, right? But come on now. You used to could just turn on the radio and hear good music. Now we got the streaming sites. And there's a ton of music, but now it's harder to find great artists. It's harder to find great artists. And I think that this is the result of capitalism. So many artists got tired of putting out great music and not being paid. And now it's even worse because you have musicians, artists, producers, songwriters that are being replaced by artificial intelligence. And so I think that the music genres that we grew up listening to, the music that we grew up loving, is not going to be the same because it's going to be replaced with artificial intelligence, and it's not going to come from a human place. To me, and this is my opinion, artificial intelligence can't give us a Smokey Robinson. Artificial intelligence can't give us a Roots Reggae or Bob Marley, Stephen Marley, Ziggy Marley, or it can't give us a Dennis Brown. It can't give us a James Brown. And the only way artificial intelligence can give us that is the keyword artificially. It'll have to be artificial. And it's crazy that because of capitalism, the powers that be are seeking to find a way to cut out the artists, the songwriters, the heartbeat and soul, and replace it with something that's not real. And if people give into that, and it's so easy because I'm sure It's going to be an AI artist that come out that I'm going to like. But I'm only liking it because they're actually replicating styles from real people. So this is having a profound effect on the populace. So many people are asking the same questions. And I think that when you have so many people asking the same questions, um, that's real. And I also want to say that the muse is missing from music, right? The guy asks, where are the love songs? That's a valid question. And I think that we're in a generation that's so computerized. The human to human contact is missing. The intimacy of being with another person is missing. A lot of kids today, adults too, we have lost the art of dialogue as well as the art of having human contact. You know what I mean? And I believe it's because we live in such a hostile environment. You know, when we have things like music always reflected what was going on, right? So when we have things like ICE, police brutality, um, segregation, and these things, the music always reflected that. And music is really energy, and energy lives forever. Energy cannot be destroyed. And I believe that the music is a pathway for us to communicate. And I'm not going to get too deep, but I think that it's always been people who don't want a certain demographic to communicate effectively, right? You got to think about it. People back in the day use music to get through tough times, use music to celebrate ceremonies, rituals. Music has always been a part of human meditation as well as spirituality, right? The syncopation of the one and the three, the two and the four, the downbeats, harmony, melody, scales. And now we have reached a place where they're taking music out of the schools. They don't want the youth to read certain books about the past. So when we see that we have governments that's in place that don't want the kids to read certain books about the past, well, that's one thing, and that's really bad too. I just seen on the news the other day on MS Now that the state of Texas is banning over 1,500 books this year alone that they don't want read, right? So we have these campaigns that's actively trying to rewrite history. Where else does history live? Well, history lives in the music. For generations, people use music to pass down traditions, storytellings, and things that was taking place. So when the people are asking what happened to the music, you have to understand that it's a complete plan. It's a planned absence. They want the appearance of music, but not the authenticity of the music. Just like in Sinners, one of the characters said they like the blues just fine. They just don't like the people who make it. And I think that we have to understand that our music is under attack and it's been under attack for a long time. And for every movement, there's a counter movement, right? So while we're trying to make the best music that's ever existed, we're trying to communicate a message effectively, right? Um, you know, Public Enemy saying fight the power. Whitney Houston remaking Dolly Parton's I Will Always Love You. We're trying to communicate a message effectively. And that creates a certain frequency, right? I don't want to get too deep because a lot of people, they're afraid to get too deep, and that's a part of the problem. We're afraid to see ourselves and reveal ourselves, and that's really what music is about. It's an instrument that's about revealing yourself, right? So that's what a lot of people are asking, and it deals with relationships too, right? So I'm gonna play another video.
Man, I was listening to the radio, man. What happened to all the love songs and the positive music, man? Everything now is either killing, tricking, or a woman that got hurt by a man. I remember when I was a kid, it used to be choices. You could listen to gangster rap if you wanted. It was some positive rap, and it was also R&B. Love songs. I'm talking about love songs. Songs about men loving women and women loving men, loving on each other.
Now, I want you to think about this for a second. People are asking, where are the love songs? Why is the love songs missing from today's music, right? Where is the energy? So many people are asking this question. It's like, what happened to the music? I'm not the only person that's asking this. Other people are asking this question too.
Man, I was listening to the radio, man. What happened to all the love songs and the positive music, man? Everything now is either killing, tricking, or a woman that got hurt by a man. I remember when I was a kid, it used to be choices. You could listen to gangster rap if you wanted. It was some positive rap, and it was also R&B. Love songs. I'm talking about love songs. Songs about men loving women and women loving men, loving on each other. I don't know what happened, man. It's like society is just cooked.
That's a great point because
But I
because one of the things that we have to understand is that when it comes to this music stuff, we like more than just hip hop. I'm gonna speak for me because I can't speak for everyone, but he's saying the same thing I'm saying. I grew up a hip hop head, but we are very multi-dimensional, and many of us grew up like in different genres because we were around different generations of your family. If you grew up similar to how I grew up, you have your grandparents and your great aunts, the music that they like. In Louisiana in the South, they listen to a lot of gospel, they listen to a lot of blues music, the older people, right? Then you got your aunts and your uncles. They listen to another version of that, but then they might add R&B and soul, right? So you have it, every generation has the music that they listen to. So you growing up listening to the music you like, that was young and hip, and then you have the generational music that you're getting from the people that's around you, right? Your extended family. And so a lot of people are asking, man, what happened to the music? What happened to all of the music that was out here? And why is it is like hip hop and rap is being pushed down our throats and it's not even good? And I promise you guys, I love hip hop music. But I can't even call a lot of the stuff that's out here hip hop. And some of it is good. They have good music. But I think that we reached a point where there's not one genre anymore. Genres are being redefined and reshaped. And a lot of this has to do with, I believe, the energy and the frequency is powers that be that don't want our energy to be felt because music has always been tied to spirituality. We always use music to communicate messages across airways and pathways. You know, scientists even talk about how energy cannot be created or destroyed. And I don't think many people actually sit down and think about this. Like, if energy can be created or destroyed, then what does that mean about energies about revolution or songs about revolution, songs about love? And then it would be one thing if this was an isolated situation where it's only one person thinking this. But when you have thousands of people asking the same question, what happened to the music, right? I have my guitar right here next to me, right? And I come from a music family. So it hit different for me. This is not like I'm not just the person who consumes music. I I actually just enjoy instruments. I enjoy listening to live instrumentation. That's another situation. We're we're entering a situation where if a person hears live instrumentation, a lot of people will rather listen to computerized music over actual live instrumentation. I think that that's actually changing the whole frequency. A computerized version of a guitar, a computerized version of a piano or a drum kick is cool, but it's not the same as the real thing. Bob Marley and the Wailers, the drummer was called Claritin Barrett, the Barrett brothers. They created a type of drum pattern called the one drop, right? Where is it manipulated the one, right? And that goes into polyrhythms and syncopation, right? Stressing a lot of reggae is playing with the downbeat, either strumming the guitar on the downbeats and also playing like R&B also plays a little bit behind the 2 and the 4. It's not exact. It's like a little bit behind it, and that plays with your ear, and that's what makes it have a certain effect. When we make music, we are actually manipulating time and energy, right? And so when we have kids that's growing up listening to computerized music, and I grew up in this generation, I'm a young man, but I always, like I said, when I was growing up, I lived next to a nightclub growing up, 910 Southwest Main Street. I grew up next to a blues club, and I used to hear the speakers. I used to hear the older people talking and this and that, and it was right by my window. And I used to just go by my window, and the speakers were so loud. The vibrations from the speakers would hit me so hard that it didn't matter what music was playing, whether it was R&B, country, blues, soul, I liked it. And now we're in a generation where kids deserve to know what real music is. And I fear that we're in a situation where we could be seeing the death of music. And another thing I would like to say is that where are the love songs? And you got them in pockets. You got, and it's not just a black thing or a white thing. This is across the board. A lot of people are asking what happened, but I'm gonna speak specifically to R&B. What's the outside of Folded? What's the last R&B song that had the world in a chokehold? And you got Adele doing her thing. She held it down for over a decade. But even she had to make hybrid music, right? It's very deep what's going on, guys.
And people be like, man, what happened to R&B music? What happened to R&B music? I'm gonna tell you what happened to R&B music. Niggas stopped singing to the women and start singing to the niggas about the women. Think about what I said now. Niggas stopped singing directly to the women and started singing to their homeboys about the women. Man, baby, I'm ready to give you all of my love. That man talking to that woman. Can we talk for a minute? That man talking to that woman. Man, it used to be a time where if you ain't had the words to say, like if you going through something in your relationship and you ain't had the words to say, you could just put this record on and they gonna talk directly to your woman. And let me tell you where it started to go left. Shawty right there is a 10. Now don't get me wrong, the song was jamming. But he talking to his homeboy about the woman. You got it bad. When you're on the phone, hang up and then you... He talking to... The man talking about the woman. I'm just saying, man, we need to get back to... Man, we need to get back. Girl, you know Come on, man. That man talking to that woman, man. I'm just saying.
I think this has a lot to do with education. Like, excuse me, I'm drinking some coffee here. Um, I think this has a lot to do with education, right? Because now we're talking about writing in first person, writing in second person, third person, right? And I think that we confuse education with with certifications and qualifications and certificates. And I'm going to speak to this for a second because I love blues music. Like that's one of my favorite genres. And blues and R&B is interconnected, right? You have blues and you have rhythm and blues. Rhythm and blues made the Delta blues sound a little more sophisticated, right? And so, but getting back to the point, staying on topic, a lot of the blues artists were the greatest songwriters of all time, right? If you start looking up people like Hootie Ledbetter, um, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. And like you said, she's singing to the person, right? Not about the person. And I think that this has a lot to do with education. And I think that the education is the lived experience. That's what I'm getting to. You got to live this. It got to be in you, not on you, right? It got to be in you. You know what I mean? And a lot of the music that exists today it still has some of that. Like, believe it or not, I got my guitar right here. And I love the acoustics. That's another thing. Back in the day, we didn't have all of this fancy equipment. Some of the greatest music that was ever created was just from the instruments that the people could afford to buy, mostly drums, acoustics, and playing it repetitively. A lot of the greatest songs ever made, do you know this? And this is the part of the problem too, was just about 3 or 4 chords played in the groove. Aretha Franklin, Chain of Fools, is not that many notes. It's just a repetitive pattern of the same 3 or 4 chords. Bob Marley's and the Wailers, Three Little Birds. It's D is A chord, D chord, E chord, A chord, repetitively through the song. A A D That's it. But it's played in such a way that it's a groove. It becomes a groove. We're missing the groove in the song. And why are we missing the groove? Because I made music for a very long time. I came from the hip hop world. Now I'm venturing off into just exploring different genres at this point. Like, I'm not saying that I've outgrown hip hop because it's elements of hip hop I love, but I mean, we need to explore different stuff. And I'm advocating for us, especially Black Americans, foundational Black Americans. I'm advocating for us to take our genres back. I'm advocating for us to explore other genres, right? Where don't let them just put you in the box as a hip hop artist, right? You're not just a hip hop artist. And they try to pigeonhole us into this little square like, oh, you're black, you must rap. Nah, like, don't do us like that, bro. Like, my brother Omar played in an orchestra. May he rest in peace. He passed away. And the honorable Omar, man, he played in an orchestra as a teenager, right? So a lot of times people would come and tell me stuff like they'll try to get deep with me and tell me things like, "Oh, black people created jazz music." I'm like, "Bro, I'm from Louisiana. My dad's from Baton Rouge. My mom is from a small country town in Avals Parish." I'm like, "Bro, I'm from the Delta. I'm from the heart of this. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I'm from where Hootie Ledbetter is from. I'm from where Mahalia Jackson is from. I'm in this. I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. You know, It's in me, it's not on me. Okay? And but I respect music from other cultures. I was in Cuba. I travel a lot. I've been to Cuba, Jamaica, Puerto Rico. I've been to almost every state on the mainland. And in my future travels, I'm just kicking game to you right now. But in my future travels, I really just want to travel and study music and just listen to music. I got my college degree over here sitting right next to me, and I have a history degree, right? And so being a person who loves history or an anthropologist, um, I just like learning from people. And it's a lot of our stories that's in the music. And I realized that getting deep for a second, for every movement, there's a counter movement. For every action, there's a reaction, right? For every action, there's a reaction. For every movement, there's a counter movement. If hip hop is our movement, ICE is a counter movement. Not just ICE, but what they represent. What some of these organizations represent is a counter movement to our movements. If they had Jim Crow, our counter movement was the blues. When they had segregation, our counter movement was rock and roll, soul music. When they were storming the Capitol, we was knee deep in hip hop, experimenting with trap music. So when people asking what happened to the music, I want you to look at the political climate. What happened to the music? Look what's going on in the world. Okay? So for every movement there's a counter movement. That's the point that I'm making. When we were making when they were practicing segregation against us, we made soul music. When they were practicing telling us what we can and can't do, we created rock and roll. In modern times, they took music classes out of the school. They put us in ghettos. We came out and created hip hop. We just take the old records that was laying around granddad's house, grandmother's house, and we just gonna sample that. So music carries energy. It's a lot of energy that's in music. Energy can be created or destroyed. Music is a very deep thing, and a lot of things that people are asking, they're asking the question of, well, what happened to the love songs? What happened to men loving women? Why are the divorce rates so high? Why are the breakups so high? What are the people listening to? Right? Have you ever seen two people slow dance in modern times? Think about this for a second. When is the last time you seen a couple slow dancing? I was overseas. I was in Colombia. I went to a nightclub in Colombia, and I'm with my friend Gino. And the the club scene in Colombia is probably I would try to explain to you is what America was in the 90s. And that's when it tripped me out because I'm like, okay, the frequencies that's going on, like in America, you go to a nightclub, people standing around, they're texting on their phone. Man, I was in Colombia where everybody speaks Spanish. And you see women and men two-stepping, people having drinks, men and women engaging with each other. I'm like, oh dang, what's going on back home isn't normal. And I believe if you're an older person, you don't understand how bad the club scene and the music scene is right now. And I believe the internet teaches people to be antisocial. teaches people not to have game, teach people not to know how to communicate. And I'm all about communication because conversation rule a nation. And what we're seeing right now is we're seeing millions of young people struggle, and they can't even, a lot of them can't even effectively communicate. And that's why the music sucks. Music is a form of communication. A lot of the internet restricts a lot of fluidity of learning how to communicate effectively. A part of being a good streamer is knowing how to communicate effectively. That's why not everyone is going to have followers or listeners or people that's um tuning into them, because the art of dialogue, it is an art form. So why are things this way? Why are things this way? That's a good
Modern
question.
producers essentially are trying to create the illusion of a performance when it's nothing like a performance. If you put on a record from Pink Floyd, the Beatles, the Stones, the Who, Elton, Bowie, those records scream humanity and scream artistic integrity. Record producers and engineers have become obsessed with perfection. It's like, when was rock and roll ever about perfection? It never has been. That's not why that music is so great. Human beings are not perfect, and there's something strangely unsettling about music that's confined to a grid. Music that's altered and tweaked and fine-tuned to perfection. When you think about it, it's actually really bizarre. It seems to me that modern producers and artists are sold on the idea of stripping all the humanity out of their music.
Excuse me. I'm going to ask a question. What if what we're seeing was a play, meaning it was a plan from decades ago to move humans out of the way musically and replace it with this, was what we're seeing in the foreseeable future with AI artists and things of that nature? Because I never forget, and I think that this is a human flaw. I never forget, they had this musician, this church musician. This guy is one of the best piano players I have ever seen. Just a very soulful, jazzy guy. And he's been at it for a very long time. I overheard another church member say, oh, basically he thinks he's all of that, but he can't even read music. The person who said that can't even play music, can't sing, can't strum a guitar, can't play a triad. You know what I'm saying? Don't know anything about music, but criticizing the person who's living the music. And I think that that's the start of it. You got people who can't do, criticizing people that can do. We have, is it true that we have people who are naturally gifted or learn to be perform at a high level, and they're criticized by people who can't do what they do? And then you have two sides of the spectrum. You have people who perform, who just like are performers. Then you have craftsmen, right? You have people that just enjoy the craft of whatever the instrument it is. They are a forever student. And we want to compare people who are in different schools of thoughts to one another, right? Capitalism requires competition. So in order for competition to exist, we have to pin one artist against another artist. We have to pin one genre against another genre, right? We have to ask, okay, Muddy Waters is good, but who's uh Howlin' Wolf is better than Muddy Waters, or Kendrick Lamar is good, but um Most Def 20 years ago was doing everything Kendrick was already doing. So we live in a world where competition is the seat that we use to judge everything, right? That's the bar. Now, it's pros and cons to that. It's pros and cons to that. May I tell you something that I thought about recently? And I thank you for the comment. Somebody told me keep going. I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, my brother Omar, he passed away, and my brother Omar, he has awards around here. He's the reason I play the guitar. And I'm not saying this because this is my brother, but I was privileged to grow up with someone who is musically gifted. My brother has awards 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. He was one of the best low brass players in the entire state of Louisiana. And he was the most humble person ever. He never looked at himself as the best. He never looked at himself as the best. He was a craftsman. He was a performer and a craftsman. He could enjoy and give props to other musicians, other people that was really talented, other people that was gifted. That's very rare. We live in a world where, especially with the hip hop genre, we have people that come about and say, who's the best? Biggie, Jay-Z, or Nas? Tupac, Rakim. And it becomes a religion to a degree where if you don't agree that someone's favorite rapper is the best, they don't even take your musical taste, they don't even think it's valid, right? And so basically I'm saying that I grew up living the music. Music is something that you live, it's not something that you hear. Music is a way of life. Okay? Music is a way of life. And so many people don't really understand that.
Bruh, the music industry is in fucking shambles. I just saw a video, and I'm not gonna name the artist in this video, but all I can say is that it's the same shit that we've heard from them for the past 5 years, and ain't no growth. Okay, there might be growth physically, but ain't no growth. Talking and rapping about the same shit. There's no skill. There's no art. Where the fuck is the art in music? Everybody's rapping about the same shit. And guess what? These music execs, they want y'all to put that shit out because guess who's making the money? Not y'all. Y'all have to keep talking about the same shit to keep making the money at this point. Like there's no relationship in music no more. Everybody's talking about being a side bitch or a side nigga or fucking somebody else's girl, but drugs, all this shit. Like, yeah, we talked about that shit in the 90s, but there's no story, there's no plot. It's the same shit. When are we gonna make art again, bruh? Like, this shit is brainless. All right? And
Okay, let me speak on this for a second. I think that what a lot of people need to understand too is that um for every action there's a reaction, right? So we have seen in modern times, excuse me, we have seen in modern times a lot of artists lose their in real time. Let me be real for a second. We have seen a lot of artists in real time. Tupac, Biggie, artists way back in the day, Sam Cooke, um, Marvin Gaye. We seen artists lose their lives in the pursuit of music. So a lot of people, I think, fear making certain songs because it's like, damn, it's a lot of people on your neck behind what you say. So in order to be a musician, a performer at that, You have to have a certain rebelliousness about you, because normally people don't want to hear what certain people have to say anyway. So the part of the music is, how can you put together a sound that forces them to hear us? How can we put together a sound that forces us to be heard? We're going to be heard, right? That's the core part of what makes our music so powerful, is that it is a force. It is a force to be reckoned with. We are a formidable foe to our opponents. And when they hear our music, they know that the sleeping giant is no longer asleep, that the sleeping giant is waking up. It's millions of people across the country that have these energies and these frequencies that they could push. And the music was a way for us to communicate globally, right? Dancing. Think about this too. Dance is a huge part of it. A lot of people can't even dance off most of the music that's out now. Dancing is almost a natural reflex to hearing something that's pleasure based. You hear something so good, it strikes you. You're forced to move. A lot of that is missing from the music today. Another thing that we see in the music today is a lot of artists don't get to decide what music the fans get to hear. And I think that a lot of the music that's out now, I appreciate a lot of the music that does come out now, because we don't know the fight that a lot of the artists had to fight in order to get this music heard. Like people talk about artists like Kendrick Lamar, Lil Wayne, a lot of the hip hop guys, and they get a lot of criticism. But think about all of the music that you may never get to hear, all of the albums that were shelved, all of the music projects that the powers that be didn't want people to hear. So whatever version of the album you got to hear is a blessing, right? I remember they had this artist, you may or may not know this artist. His name is Lupe Fiasco from Chicago. Lupe Fiasco had an album over a decade ago called Lasers. He was trying to put out this album. The Def Jam and Leora Cohen made Lupe make 3 or 4 different versions of the album before putting it out. And what ended up happening was the version that we got of the album wasn't the original version. It was still a very good album, but he had to fight to get that version out. Meanwhile, I'm gonna get deep for a second, I'm going there. You have labels historically exploiting the artists that make the music, and a lot of the artists are tired of it. So you're not going to see artists in modern times risking their lives. Think about all of the artists, all of the musicians that lost their lives in the pursuit of giving their voice to the world. Artists that had these strange and mysterious deaths, and there was no arrest made. There was no outrage. Is it fair for musicians and artists to lose their lives just for our entertainment? That's a valid question. So some artists have retreated and like, I'm not going to give them my all. If this person could make a silly song with no soul and make $10 million, and here I am over here being robbed of my royalties, and I'm making music that's actually uplifting, that actually has a message. So a lot of us, we fall for the popcorn. It's like junk food. Most of us, we like a little candy, we like a little junk food, but we know in our hearts and our minds that the real nourishment comes from food, things that actually has nourishment, nutrients and vitamins. But we have been taught, even with music, that the pre-made stuff is music. Go get a beat package. You didn't even make the beats yourself. Go get a beat package. Go get some a percussion sound. Put all of this stuff together, loop it, four bars, 8 bars. That's the song. Call it a hit. They have the power to decide what is a hit, what isn't a hit. Now, why is all of this going on? A lot of people say, man, why is all of this going on? Guys, for every action, there's a reaction. For every movement, there's a counter movement. If you study they're banning books. Why are they banning books? They pass laws. Like if you watch the NWA movie, they pass laws fighting for artists to be silenced. Parental advisory. And a lot of the stuff that the artist was doing was they had to be so provocative because they was trying to be heard. Imagine you have something to say and people are telling you that what you have to say is unimportant. So yeah, we're going to stop asking and saying it nicely. We did that before. Tupac has a famous interview. He talked about this. And there's still a lot of great artists today. Don't get it twisted. It's legends who walk among us today. It was trash music back in the day. That's always going to exist. But it's a frequency that we're trying to tap into. Right? So I'm getting ready to end the broadcast. I like to say thank you to everybody that tuned in, that's been supporting the channel. A few announcements before I go. You can support the channel by subscribing to me on YouTube, Across the Culture Wars. Across the Culture Wars. That's me on every platform if I'm on there. TikTok, YouTube. I don't have an Instagram yet for Across the Culture Wars, but I'm going to go ahead and probably make one. But yeah, man, we here full throttle. You can find me on Twitch and Rumble. Spitting my talk, talking my talk, walking my walk. And I just think that we live in a world, man, where we need to tune into the frequencies, because for every movement, there's a counter movement, you know, and the powers that be, in my opinion, their whole vibrato is anti-communication, anti-people coming together. When I seen that Bad Bunny was performing at the Super Bowl, how did the people in the dominant society react? They stated that they were going to send ICE to the Super Bowl to harass the fans. So this is what I'm talking about. What happened to the music? Well, the dominant society's movement is what happened to the music. They have made it to where if people come together, that's a crime. And it's not just the Latino brothers and sisters that this happened to. I mean, everybody that's classified as non-white in this society, when we come together, that is to be police. If you get 4 or 5 black people hanging together, they want to call that a gang. We could be together playing music. Everything. Every time we come together, the dominant society is trying to find a way to tear that apart. So for every movement, there's a counter movement. During segregation, and I'm gonna keep saying that, we had the blues. The blues is a counter movement to them having segregation and mass lynchings. We have soul music, R&B. That's a counter movement. We're using the music as a counter movement, a counter culture. So what happened to the music? The dominant society got to answer that question too. Why are they trying to profit off of our art? Why are our artists disappearing, losing their lives? Why are these labels taking out insurance policies on these artists? And these artists, especially the rappers, dying every month, unaliving every month. And no one's suspicious. Every year is a new one. Nipsey, Dolph, Takeoff, Tupac, Biggie, so many, Left Eye. I mean, you could just go down the list. You could go back to the past, Sam Cooke, Prince, Michael Jackson, Whitney Houston. All like once you start seeing the pattern, you can't just blame and say it's just isolated incidents because humans recognize patterns. A child could recognize a pattern. So we started to have to ask questions of what's going on. And so it's a lot, it's a very nuanced conversation because it's not a singular thing. It has a lot to do with changing demographics. Has a lot to do with the change of demographics. By the year 2040, the majority of the United States population is going to be, as they say, people of color. Or and they used to say 100 years ago, colored people. That's another phrase that's funny to me, people of color. It's like people could say people of color instead of just saying what you really want to say. Just say it, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, people would say people of color, but then be outraged when 100 years ago they was calling people colored people. What's the difference between people of color and colored people? It's the same stuff. It's the same statement. But we're seeing the death of the genre wall. We're asking question, how has the internet reduced the power of the elites? And how are they trying to codify that now? Right? We're also seeing two Americas. Why people view the world so differently. People that's been living in this country for 200, 300 years. A lot of the people only been living in this country 150 years. If you get into like the immigration laws, a lot of people came from Europe in the last 150 years. A lot of them not having really been here that long. So that's why the Black Americans culture is so dominant, because we've been here the longest. And we're not trying to be anything else. But a lot of people are asking the same questions that I'm asking. What happened to the music? What's going on? Right?
Man, I was listening to the radio, man. What happened to all the love songs and the positive music, man? Everything now is either killing, tricking, or a woman that got hurt by a man. I remember when I was a kid, it used to be choices. You could listen to gangster rap if you wanted. It was some positive rap. And it was also R&B. Love songs. I'm talking about love songs. Songs about men loving women and women loving men. Loving on each other. I don't know what happened, man. It's like society is just cooked. But I know, I mean, as time goes on, as generations progress, information tends to get lost. I was born in 78, so one generation away from the Panther Party. So a lot of those ideologies and that mentality was still in us in the air. Today, I mean, the information.
Y'all, what happened to the male R&B artists? Where are the groups at? I ain't never met a group of people that want to be thugs so bad in my life. Everybody want to be gang and shoot it up. Ain't no singers on the radio no more. What happened to the time we had Jodeci, Drew Hill, Boys to Men, Jagged Edge? I mean, it was hit after hit after hit. The women are the only ones really keeping R&B alive. Shout out to all the true male artists that's still around, the Tanks, the Chris Browns, like y'all still doing y'all thing. But where are the new guys at? And when I say R&B, don't start naming people that don't know how to sing. If you out there, that ain't R&B. I miss good music on the radio, the love ballads. Come on now, it's me and we had something to offer in that space. Where are the true R&B artists at? Come on, y'all can sing now. Ride Wave, drop an R&B album, because we know that's what you really want to do. Now, I don't know if we got to go to a church to find a new artist or what, but can we please get some new R&B out here in 2025?
Bruh, the music industry is in fucking shambles. I just saw a video, and I'm not going to name the artist in this video, but all I can say is that it's the same shit that we've heard from them for the past vibe and ain't no growth. Okay, there might be growth physically, but ain't no growth. Talking and rapping about the same shit. There's no skill. There's no art. Where the fuck is the art in music? Everybody's rapping about the same shit. And guess what? These music execs, they want y'all to put that shit out because guess who's making the money? Not y'all. Y'all have to keep talking about the same shit to keep making the money at this point. Like there's no relationship in music no more. Everybody's talking about being a side bitch or a side nigga or fucking somebody else's girl, but drugs, all this shit. Like, yeah, we talked about that shit in the 90s, but there's no story, there's no plot. It's the same shit. When are we gonna make art again, bruh? Like, this shit is brainless. All right.
And people be like, man, what happened to R&B music? What happened to R&B music? I'm gonna tell you what happened to R&B music. Niggas stopped singing to the women and start singing to the niggas about the women. Think about what I said now. Niggas stopped singing directly to the women and started singing to their homeboys about the women. Man, baby, I'm ready to give you all of my love. That man talking to that woman. Can we talk for a minute? That man talking to that woman. Man, it used to be a time where if you ain't had the words to say, like if you going through something in your relationship and you ain't had the words to say, you could just put this record on and they gonna talk directly to your woman. And let me tell you where it started to go left. Shawty right there is a 10. Now don't get me wrong, the song was jamming. But he talking to his homeboy about the woman. You got it bad. When you're on the phone, hang up and then you... He talking to... The man talking about the woman. I'm just saying, man, we need to get back to... Man, we need to get back. Girl, you know I... Come on, man. That man talking to that woman, man. I need some. Because I'm in the doghouse right now, right? So I need something I can put on for my woman.
Yeah, guys. So we tapped into the frequency today. It was a great broadcast. I like to thank everybody that tuned in. Everybody has been supporting the channel. We went strong for an hour. Good morning to you. Good afternoon to you, wherever you are in the world. And I like to thank you. And it's up to us to be the change we want to see in the world. And I believe that we can do it. And I believe that it's an energy and a frequency that we have to tap into. And it's about repetition. You can't do something one time and expect change. It's about consistency. Whatever you want in life, you got to be consistent about it. And I think that what we're seeing is a lack of consistency. But then also we have to learn to protect what we keep. We don't want to produce something or create something and then have it stolen by others, because historically that has been the pattern. So we want to